SRA Nation.
We're excited to get this season off with a bang.
I think they're all taking tires. And on top of that, it's going to be saucier. It's going to be an all-out shootout to the end. He's got line of sight on these guys.
I commend you for the bravery. He's getting this close to the diffuser.
All you gotta do is win the race. You don't have to lead a whole bunch of laps.
Oh, they're going to be side by side going into the next corner.
Oh, that's a big contact in the back of the field.
Can't stay out there like this.
He stayed in it!
We're off and away for SRA.
Yeah, hey, good evening, everyone. Looking forward to an excellent race tonight at Snetterton. Yeah, I think there was some excellent activity yesterday in the races on Tuesday night, and then also some fireworks on Monday during the practice races. So it'll be interesting to see what happens tonight with our D2 folks.
Yeah, so for those who are unaware, we are racing at tonight, and we expect medium downforce, but not Alright, Dan, you keep talking, I'm going to figure out some stuff. Okay.
Right on. So it's interesting when you go around this track. It's a nice mix, almost like Barcelona, when you have kind of high speed straights, high speed corners around the end of the lap, but also a bunch of hairpins that really test the driver. When I saw last night's race, it's really important to keep car control throughout the race, throughout all corners, as when you're racing, as we do, in these GT3 cars, we find that while you're following someone quite closely, you lose a little bit of traction in your car, and you can immediately punch someone into the grass, which is the worst possible scenario. I really enjoyed racing this last night, having not driven Snetterton a lot in my ACC and GT3 career. So I really do recommend, if you're not part of our awesome SRA family, or you missed tonight's race, to go out and give this track a try. It's really a nice mix of everything that could be thrown at you in a GT3 car.
Yeah, and I think major action areas will, of course, be the 8-9 chicane. 11, hopefully don't see too much action in the 12 chaotic corner to start out. And I think turn 2 will see some sends up the inside.
Yeah, so it's really interesting with the race. I've lost your picture. I apologize, guys. Got it. It's really interesting that here, and I think across all our SRA divisions, really have a nice mix of gold and silvers in the top 10. I'd really like to see silvers and root for those punching above their weight, really taking it at the first 2 or 3 folks. Bailey and Jared have really set the mark, with Zach coming in and Josh coming in right behind. Be it that it's only a few races into the season, and we've had, in a way, in my mind, very similar tracks with Kailami and now Snetterton. It'll be interesting when we move to some other tracks like Indianapolis and Paul Ricard, how Bailey and Jared, if they can still make it work in their Mercedes and BMWs versus the Porsches and the McLarens as we move down that order. So really exciting. Can't wait to see them race tonight.
Yeah, I agree. Mr. Bailey himself has expressed not much confidence in his ability to win today's race and repeat from week 1. And we do have a last to first challenge coming from Palmieri, which is something we'll track. You see the end of the driver standings. And I think I've fixed my audio issues, which is good because we can't have audio issues 2 weeks in a row. And then we move to the team standings. Team Basin Alish of Bailey Kish and Jason Allen, top of the board, but not that it matters this early in the season, and not that that's a big gap. In second place, the Hoonigans in Division 2. Stefik and Diaz in that very fast McLaren, although I don't know how the McLaren's going to hold up around Snetterton itself. It's a very bumpy track. And then in third, GRR Ghost Rider Racing. Guy Man Person, definitely a real name. And Mr. Jared Sicome in the, I don't know if you've been tracking the Discord, the apparently overpowered M4 GT3. I say apparently because I personally believe it was probably just the driver. We need to nerf Michael Menning. But we've seen some silly times coming out of that car. And so that's our team standings. Let's get into what everyone's kind of showed up for. Let's get into the race. As I have a black screen for some reason. Oh, they're nexting the session. Wonderful. And there we go. Apparently my sound issues are much better now, which is encouraging. Hold on. I get broadcast control. Huh. We have racing line on. This is hilarious and something I will address shortly.
I like it. Gets to see the difference between the ACC chosen line versus the driver's chosen line.
I'm getting exposed. I was doing some offline practice. This is so unfortunate. To everyone in the stream, you saw nothing. We'll be right back in. We will not be saving that as a replay. Let me go in. Change our options. It's not there. Assists.
Meanwhile, I can see in picture, Jeffrey's working his way through the lap.
Oh, we're having all sorts of issues now. All right, stream is down. We are checking. The game crashed, so we're going to fix this the old-fashioned way.
As of right now, Hartman has the best lap. Car number 48 with a 146.855. We'll switch to him in the picture-in-picture.
That one's not going away. I'm gonna get roasted for that one for a while. Off, arm, back.
Jeffries is definitely putting a lap second place right now in qualifying with a delta of 0.7, 0.8 seconds on his previous lap. So it'll be interesting to see what he gets at the end of his lap.
And we are back. Tracking Mr. Paulie Hartman, who currently has the pole position time. Oh no. It's okay, we're good, we're back. Everything's working.
Yeah, and Jeffries and Platt just took over Hartman by about 3 or 4 tenths of a second. See how Hartman responds here.
And it seems like everyone's doing a faster second lap, so sometimes that's less the case, but get a first banker in. How do you normally feel about qualifying? Do you try to get your fastest lap right away, or do you try to, set a solid banker that doesn't DQ you or anything, and then just try to improve from there?
Yeah, I try to calm my nerves and just put in a banker. I also like to drive out in practice, which I feel like at least half the field doesn't even like go out in practice. I just want to get it back into my brain from that long driver's briefing to remember what the track looked like and get the shift points right. I think it's important to build a banker. And as a silver driver in most of the divisions I've been in here, it's important not to start in the back, but even to push to be the top of the silver or medium and gold. So I think it's important to get that banker lap.
Chat is asking for the coach, and chat will get the coach. Uh, Side note, shout out to Triple Stint Racing. Order your sim gloves now. But yeah, the coach right now currently P2. He's currently a tenth and a half up on his previous lap time, but he's about 2 tenths behind Paul A for pole position. Early on, do you have any favorites for who you think is going to do well in this race? Talk to me.
I don't. I think as we've said, now that we have so many different cars available to the drivers, I think it's really both a combination of car dependent and driver dependent. It's interesting seeing these Lexuses and other cars pop up just because these individuals have driven these cars for so long that they feel so comfortable with them that they can, really push it to their limits on a track like this. So it'll be interesting to see who's in the top 10 at the end from a car perspective.
Yeah, as Coach Jeffries does put it on pole with the 45.9. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe the BMWs are overpowered. We'll find out. We'll find out later. But who else is on a hot lap right now? I see in the back Andrew Anderson. He's sitting here about 6 tenths up on his last best time. And give love to everyone racing, not just the guys at the top. And that very colorful Porsche.
Yeah, whatever car I'm driving is going to be the slowest. So I had the the Lamborghini last season, and now now the Porsche, which I'm enjoying because I've never raced it before for a season. So I'm really enjoying driving it. But we'll see if it can live up to the speeds everyone else who are the true Porsche drivers can really extract out of that vehicle.
And before everyone comes to my head, the Lambo sucked last season not because it was bad, but because it got plus 40 kilos everywhere, and it sucked to drive. And I think the Porsche will be an issue next week, in particular when we're at Paul Ricard, and there's a very long straight, and our engine has no power. Should be a great time.
Other than that, I'm going to win the race.
Yeah, other than that, other than the lack of straight line speed, the decent cornering speed, but not great, and we're going to win on corner exits. That's the plan. We're going to win strictly off corner exits.
Yeah, exactly. Last corner, beat everyone on the straight down to the first corner.
So we jump with Key and also in the Porsche. I swear I'm not showing favoritism, but they just happen to be half a second up in P4 on their time. So
yeah, pretty close to the fastest time.
Come around the final corner in that AAA car. Still 4 tenths up. Didn't have a great last exit compared to his best lap, so I think he's going to cross the line only about 3.5 tenths up at the end, which should be good for P4.
Yeah, P3 right now. Hartman improved on his lap.
Paul A taking back pole, much to chat's chagrin, who was, I think, Diego, saying please don't get beat by Paul A. Well, it's a long race. Qualifying is qualifying, but the race is long. As we're getting close to the golds going out, remember the golds do go out at the 10-minute mark. If you are on a valid lap at the time the 10-minute mark crosses over, you can stay on track, complete your lap, assuming it stays valid. But the only real gainer right now is Dudley, who's up, looks like 3.5 tenths, coming into sector 3 now, as the golds have started exiting the pit lane. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about the McLaren here.
Down a little.
Yeah, but the McLaren in particular here, I feel like is very stiff. I don't know if that's the right word. I feel like, especially coming through this part of the track into the bomb hole, I don't know how much I would trust such an aero-dependent race car.
Yeah,
it's interesting. Gets it a little off and touches the grass.
Yeah, that corner has its fear factor, but I think shockingly in last night's races, it really didn't lead to any incidents as much as this last corner that he's coming through right now.
Guys, you cannot follow through that corner. Nothing good will come of it. As that looks to be our qualifying set for the silvers, no one else is really improving on their time. So we have Paule in first place for the silvers so far, provisional pole. Coach Jeffrey's close behind, Key close behind that, and Platt, the 4 drivers within a quarter of a second of each other. Dudley Do-Right rounding out the top 5. As we go on with some of the gold drivers, the other half of Baelish Allen, Basin Alish, Jason Allen. What? But we'll see. Who do you think Gold's gonna put on pole? You think the pole position is gonna come from a Gold driver?
Unless silvers have been overly underweighted, I think it will be. I really do trust the golds around this track in general, on average.
I hope it's not. It'd be fun.
I love the underdog, but this track is so training dependent. It's so driver skill dependent. There's so many little places you can gain so much time that I fear that the golds are going to win this. But I'm going to root for a silver for the race for sure.
Well, I think the silver we're all kind of rooting for is Palmieri, who's doing an unofficial last to first challenge. Boy went and got himself a quali ban, and has been talking big all week about how he's doing a last to first. If he starts in 36th, I think he will finish in like 22nd. I don't have that much faith.
I think that's likely. I think given the length of the race and the type of cars we're driving and the fact that you're forced to pit for a tire change, I think it's going to be a difficult race to go truly last to first.
On the bright side, the likelihood of mass death is higher than a lot of other tracks. Particularly if someone gets a little too brave going into the turn 2 into the hairpin, which unfortunately we saw a little bit of in the D4 race. And some unforced driver errors into that 8-9 complex, the chicane at the top of the track. You might get some positions for free.
Yeah, I gained probably about 5 or 6, 7 positions before I ran into a couple of cars that decided to park themselves in the middle of turn 6 because they ran into each other. So I think it's definitely available for the driver that has a clear head to really get a good result here.
Yeah, that tracks. Something to note, this week's strategy call is not much of a strategy call. All cars must take tires and cannot take fuel. I don't think we had anyone run out of fuel in any of the races yesterday, but the fact that everyone has to take tires and no one can take fuel doesn't lead to that much of an ability to get a pass in the pit lane. But we'll see what they can come up with. We might see an undercut, maybe 5-10 minutes, or if you're in last place, do you just dive into the pits immediately and do a whole race on one set of tires? Who knows? Who's putting out a good time right now? Stefia currently has the best gold time with a 46.3 as his banker time, but he's already up 0.3 of a second through Sector 1. All that I talked about the McLarens. Victor Diaz, as he lost it. Commentators curse. That is unfortunate. But
I guess the only good part about these grass patches is that it's hard to crash your car completely, which is good for qualifying because he definitely wants to get that lap in.
I managed to hit a wall yesterday. I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
Funny enough, it's at this next corner that Diaz is approaching now. Just completely stopped paying attention, blew my braking zone, and went off into Narnia. As Diaz actually now has the best time for the golds with a 45.9, and he's basically even with that time now, with Kovac directly behind him. And it looks like Kovac is backing off a little bit, weaving, trying to get some space. As we all know, here at SRA, we have a no passing principle for our qualifying. You are not allowed to pass the car in front unless they are invalid and or give you an obvious point by pulling over to the side and letting you go by. Do you find yourself distracted by cars behind you in qualifying if someone really rides up on you?
I do, but I also like going out first. So I try to get, as a typical silver driver, even as I moved up till Division 4, I kept being put in silver versus being gold in the lower division. I like being out first. I'd much rather someone behind me than in front of me.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
like not having the chance for them to crash or slow me down.
Yeah, and while we do have tight fields, with 6 divisions, our field spreads are fairly tight. As we're looking now, it's a quarter second between P1 and P7. And the higher in the divisions you go, the smaller that gap tends to get, with the exceptions of some aliens like Michael. With that being said, it's you get space pretty easily, and you're not overrunning the people in front of you too often. I mean, the biggest gap here is like 2 seconds between first and last right now. And if you give 3-4 second gap, you shouldn't be catching them. You hope.
Yeah, as long as you keep your car on track and don't visit the grass areas, you can, even if you go invalid, you typically can stay ahead of the car behind you and not ruin their qualifying session. So that's where I typically try to live, in the top few cars, if not number one. The difficulty
Everywhere I
playing
go,
in,
there's McLarens.
I should have chosen that this year, this season.
Chat saying we picked the same cars. Listen, bro, I picked the cars that are up on their delta significantly. Right now, Krawczyk is the highest up on their delta, not counting the car I just left from, and he's about half a second up coming out of the last corner up the straight. And he will finish with a pole position time, 1:45.700. This is why we don't view someone else. We stay on the car that's putting in the heater. Who else is putting in a heater? Stefiak is not having a bad lap at all. He's up 6/10 crossing the line now. He will put himself in P2. And Guy Manperson right behind putting himself in P3. And Victor Diaz is rounding the corner now. Ran in the final corner now. Let's see if he can improve from his P7. And it will be P2. He will bump Stefiak and Guy Manperson down, take P2. It's a McLaren lockout for the top 3.
It's always interesting when you if you look at the Sim Racing Alliance website and you examine the drivers in different divisions, how different cars are performing better or worse. I feel like when we get to the lower divisions, like I drive in, you get a smattering of cars, but while you move up to the alien divisions, you're getting a very tight group of cars that they know how to drive and they know are going to be the quickest based on balance of performance. So while the McLarens are fastest here, they probably sucked last night in D5. I'll have to look.
We call these people sweats. That's what we call them. But yeah, I mean, and also I think generally speaking, quali pace and race pace are 2 separate things. It'll be interesting to see how the McLarens feel throughout the course of the race. I know they're a very popular car, mostly because I think they're the most race car-y of the GT3 cars. Heavy aero, they look like a spaceship, they sound like one. Whereas something like the Porsche or the Aston, they just look like fancy road cars. Chat telling us that they got bad tire wear in the McLarens. We'll see. I don't think that'll factor in, considering they have to. Everyone has to take tires. So this week is the hot lappers week, as Jason Allen puts himself in P12. 30 seconds left in qualifying. Is anyone gonna bump off Krawczyk with that 45.70?
Yeah, Sacombe just missed it. He's 33 hundredths behind Krawczyk.
That's a pretty looking car too, but it does break up the lockout, the McLaren lockout at the top. Chat saying the McLaren's one of the best cars right now. I feel like whoever that person is, and I have an inkling of who it is, it sounds like every car that you're not driving becomes the best car.
For sure.
It's always how it is. All I know is I'm definitely in one of the slowest cars next week in the Porsche at Paul Ricard. It's going to be a struggle.
Yeah, at least that track. That track is like either you love or hate it. For whatever reason, I like the blue and red painted lines, especially from the overhead view. I don't know why. It just has. I just love it.
Have you ever seen Dr. Dolittle, the original with Eddie Murphy?
No.
So there's a scene.
Go back and watch it now.
Again, the premise of the movie is he can talk to animals, right? There's a scene where the dog that he's talking to, his family dog, is just looking out the car window and getting car sick because he kept looking at the dashed lines on the side of the road, and he would just go line, 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 and that's what Paul Ricard feels like to me. Just lines
Yeah.
everywhere.
The thing I hate about let's say Snetterton versus let's say and Paul Ricard versus like Kailami is a change in elevation. You don't realize it when you're just looking at a track map. But when you actually get on that track, you realize that the whole thing is completely flat. There's no ups and downs.
Yeah.
And I really like that aspect of it. I like the blind corners in Kailami. I like Spa when you drive down the dip in Eau Rouge, even though I get put out 1 out of 10 times. But that's the big difference with these tracks.
Yeah, speaking of dropping and elevation change, where did pole position go? I see Krawczyk on the timetables in the game. I do not see him in my race control.
Did he drop?
I hope he didn't disconnect. That would be horrifically unfortunate to go from pole to wherever he's going to start from. Pit lane start, question mark? So,
and we got to give Manperson the credit for getting a preliminary pole if we don't get Krawczyk back. We missed his lap. It'd be interesting to see how Manperson was able to gain that time.
I don't think he passed him. I think we've just lost Krawczyk. He's just gone. And he's just rejoined, and he's in P36.
Oh, that's the worst.
No!
You'd think that the game would be able to recognize that.
The game won't even give me a camera to log onto him. There we go. Oh man, pour one out. That is unfortunate. That is a true last to first challenge. Put it on pole and start from last. Woof. Alright, now we're taking bets from both you and from chat. Where do you think he's gonna finish?
I still think he has a lot to overcome this race. Given the speed, if he can get some clear air, I'll go with under top 20. But I don't think he's going to be above 15.
So between 15 to 20? That's kind of where I'm thinking. I wonder if he'll pit lap 1. That's my question now. Will he just bite the bullet, pit, and then be in the way for the rest of the race, you know?
It's hard because the car's pitting ahead of him, which will get fresh tires whenever they want. It's going to make bad drivers better than him.
But
I know
even on fresh tires, there's nowhere to pass.
Yeah.
Where are you going to pass? Into turn 2, maybe?
If he doesn't make a mistake, he'll survive. But if you make a mistake, you're under attack at multiple places.
True.
But yeah, you're right. If you drive a clean race, no one's going to pass you.
Yeah.
I had tires in the mid 25s and still survived a couple of attacks. So I hear you.
Yeah, and with that unfortunate game crash, whatever may have happened, disconnect, we got BMWs locking out the front row, which will definitely feed some agendas in chat. Diego. But yeah, this driver's getting away on their warm-up lap. Chat, also please let me know if the game sound is too low. I've been tweaking the audio settings because my computer decided to change things on me. But I think we're good. And again, our top 10, we go from Manperson to Sacombe to Diaz to Steffiak to Hartman, 2 teammates. And looks like, is it teammates in 1, 2, and 3, 4?
You know the team standing's better than me, so I'll defer to you. But
I think it is.
I like the Honda in 8 and Allen with the Aston in 10, and Dunham in 12 with the Aston, breaking stuff up with like legacy cars, if you will.
The Key, the only Porsche, it looks like in the top 13. Coach in P7 also in the BMW. the aforementioned Honda, Queso in the Ferrari, Jason in the Aston, and then we start repeating cars. We don't see a AMG until P15. One of two AMGs on the grid. The other one being Palmieri, who's trying to do his little last to first challenge.
Yeah, maybe that's the race. Krochik versus Palmieri for the last to X win. Who's going to be?
Oh, that'll be interesting. Who does better for the back?
Yeah.
And then we have the two teammate GTRs, because you know we love GTRs here at SRA. 22nd, 23rd, stacked up, and that the GTR scares me when it's behind me. I don't know why, but it's similar to the Bentley, where if I see it behind me, I'm just uncomfortable.
Yeah, I was following one in front of me for a little while last night, and I was not catching up to that car at the tail end of the race. So still a formidable car in this BOP that we have right now.
Chad's saying the Nissan's really good here. We'll let this race be the deciding factor of that. They're in 22nd and 23rd. We'll see where they end up finishing.
All right, let's see an average 14 between the two cars.
Average 14. But we'll see. As everyone lines up, I do think the front of the grid is going to be very polite because I think they're all teammates. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think behind them is where it's going to start to get a little too aggressive. Although maybe we'll see a Hamilton-Rosberg situation here.
I'll switch to Key then on the inset to see his wing cam, see what happens in the more middle of the pack, if you will.
So we're coming across the line to start an hour of racing, week 2, season 10. And green, green, green.
Go, go, go.
A little bit of contact between the McLaren teammates. Looks like they've all made it pretty alright. As Arjun is dead,
Someone lost it.
the Honda in P8 immediately deciding to off themselves, it looks like. Gagler cars coming around turn 2. Looks like everyone's made... Oh, we got a car off in the back as well. Heli. So far so good. The two McLaren teammates in 3rd and 4th have swap positions. Chad saying I wish I could find a teammate for the Nissan. I also tried to find a teammate for the Nissan. So if you're in D4 for next season, slide in the DMs. We'll figure something out.
The pit is now open.
Pit lane is now open, and we are racing. Let's see who's really having. See this little throughway train here of Jason Allen, Dunham, and Watkinson coming into the 8-9 complex. Not the place to pass, but the place where a lot of things can go very sideways.
Yeah, other than that one lone car in the back, you can see from the track map that they're all pretty much tight against each other coming around the last bend.
Quick update on our little last to first challenge. Palmieri's in 28 and Krochik's in 30th. They've already gained 6-7 positions each.
Yeah. Be interesting to see back, not tonight, but on a replay, the aggressiveness on that start. I feel like, at least in the lower divisions, there's not as much aggression as there is here.
Well, Palmieri and Wagner both in the pits. So the last to first challenge sounds like take tires and ride it out. We'll get off the pit lane. By the way, as the other GTR currently coming under attack from the Aston. The Aston of Higgs coming after the Aston of Zooch, sorry, coming after Gardner. Which are coming to an area of the track where it's very difficult to make a pass.
Yeah, with Palmieri leaving the pits now. Fresh set of rubber.
Alright, let's see who's fighting. Who's fighting? Well, pretty much everyone in this little group, everyone kind of following single file. Look at that view. Chat asking what attempts, track temp 20. Sorry, track temp 26, ambient temp 20. Top right corner, come on Michael, read the screen. Oh, he's conversing with someone else in chat regarding Paul Ricard. We're not on Paul Ricard yet, guys, come on, get it together. As it looks like there's a little bit of action going on right behind.
Yeah.
Fortunate AMG, as looks like Kovac just has a nose ahead, but he's on the outside, and the Merc backs. The Merc backs out of it.
Yeah, I went side by side into turn 1 and survived the
Oh,
maneuver
but
on the
Kovac blows
inside.
the hairpin completely. A little bit of contact, and they're good. Oof. Tight racing. A little bit of door banging, but nothing too crazy. Maybe some hurt feelings.
I mean, everyone's pointed forward, so can't be too upset.
That's all I can ask for. Let's see who's having. You look right here, Damian is on. He wants to make a move on Charles as well.
Mm-hmm.
He said, your Mercedes has the old AMG motor. I have the new AMG motor. I am superior. But see if the Aston really has the legs here.
Yeah, this is an interesting corner here coming onto the long straight. Really can show either the grunt of your car or the mistakes you're making with your car that just doesn't have the power to keep up.
Yeah, and it's all exit speed, and I feel like when I was driving it, the car would heave over a little too much, and I would get like the rear end would just kick out, and that's something I struggle with all week during practice.
Mm-hmm.
What is going on here? Getting real tight with each other.
Yeah.
Go to Anderson's car. Oh, he's built a gap. Built some sort of a gap. Yeah, this is definitely a tough track. Moving around the car in the pits with McLaren to Higgs diving into the pits early. I don't know how to feel about that, right? Oh, little argy bargy. And it looks like Damiani taking advantage of all of that and just kind of swooping through in the ass and getting the pass done.
Yeah, someone's got someone off behind.
Berg definitely getting the worst off of it. Let's see if we can get a replay of what just happened. Looks like the Merc tries to make a move, a little bit of contact, and Damian just kind of keeps it tight and just drives on through.
That was beautiful.
Gets the pass done. Not super sure what happened to the BMW behind. Maybe got caught up in a little bit of that. But Damiani's made out like a bandit. 2 positions, and now he's 7/10 up.
Yeah, it was some beautiful car control around that hairpin. The benefit there is that he took the line that he would probably have taken anyways.
Yeah.
The other 2 guys were fighting, and he just drove around tight to the corner. Nice to see.
He got all the wins of a dive bomb without having to commit the dive bomb himself.
Exactly.
All the profit, none of the risk. There's some yellow flags at the back of the track. Not super sure what just happened there. Update on the leaders. Guy Manperson setting purple lap time, 46.8. Sacombe his teammate is a second behind him. Just did a 47.1, and Diaz is about 3/4 of a second behind Sacombe, and he also just did a 47.3. Stafford falling away a little bit. Krochik, by the way, already in P23. So he was I'm not gonna say last to first, but what do we say? Between 15 and 20, best case. He might have something to say about that.
He might. I mean, but his lap times are 148.8 versus 147 ones, threes at the front. So he still has a lot to make up lap on lap to go to front. But he's going to be around 16, 17. They're running 149s, 148s, 150s. So he definitely is the pace to be in that 16 to 20 range.
And I think not making mistakes is good for at least 4 or 5 positions here.
At least.
So we get off the Wonder Kid and go back to who we're actually racing. Latufo and Anderson are right on top of each other. But unfortunately, this is also not really an area to pass. But as they're coming in the back straight, yeah, I feel like the straight is weird. It's not long enough to really get a pass star on someone, especially because you cannot send it into 8-9.
No.
There's no shot. And even if someone gets like not a great run through like the bomb hole, a little lift and power back on, this long right-hander is also not somewhere you can pass. Because it gets so tight in the 12.
Pass until, yeah, you can't pass until the last turn. Unless you're going to be overly aggressive and risk a collision.
Well, that being said, it looks like Al got a significantly better exit than the ass in front of him. He's closing, but I don't know if there's anywhere for him to go.
I mean, if he holds the inside, he has it into the hairpin on the inside on the next corner. But he has to be closer. There's no way he can do it from back there.
That BMW is, I don't know what's going on, what I just saw, but he's definitely taken out the braking marker for the drivers. So this will be fun. We'll see how many people mess up their braking zone in turn 2 in the next lap or so before they adjust.
Yeah, I was shocked how those survived the race last night. There was every single one that I needed was still there at the end of the hour.
The glorious GTR of Wagner. Wagner, the leader amongst the cars who have pit already, has Palmieri close behind though. And Palmieri, by the way, has the fastest lap of the race now, 46.5.
That's substantial.
That's very fast for a car full of fuel. But the issue is, I don't know if he can get past the GTR.
Yeah.
And I don't think, I think GTR drivers are a little different. I don't think you can kind of scare them and get them to make a mistake. So I think this AMG is gonna have a long while behind those 4 circular taillights.
Yeah, I guess he can get his elbows out and just try to push his way through.
As we see Al having a bit of an issue. So Tupo himself. What happened here? Came off the long straight and maybe just made a mistake into 8-9. Let's see if the replay will show us what happened. Oh, yep, just went wide. Oof. A little bit of contact. A lot of bit of contact. Maybe I should have changed the replay time to 25 seconds. But yeah, Palmieri's just right up the rear end of Wagner with nothing to do about it. Can't get past. We have a group in the middle. Everyone's about 3-4 tenths off each other. Just playing Snake. You ever play Snake on a Nokia?
Yeah. My old blue Nokia, whatever it was.
Yeah, the brick. The undestroyable brick. Mobile games used to be really be a thing. It's tragic they're not anymore.
No, it's crazy. It got replaced by like Candy Crush or something. It's basically the same phenomenon, but
it's not as good. That's why I'm upset.
The graphics are better. Though I gotta love my daughter, age 9, playing a version of Tecmo Ball on her iPhone. She still thinks the graphics are better in Madden, but oh well.
We see Jason just kind of defending, you know, Aston behind Aston. He knows the car behind's about as fast as his car in his hands. Take the long right, keep it tight on the left-hander 12 onto the straight, and you're not going to get past. 2 McLarens behind are getting a little frisky. Platt and Dudley.
I mean, to your point at the beginning of the broadcast, like regarding cars, you know, it's always interesting when you have someone in the same car behind you, because absent any tire wear or fuel, you basically have the same vehicle below you. You could set it up differently, but in the end, it's a very similar thing. So it's as if you're fighting teammate for teammate, like they do in F1 or like they do in other GT3 races. So that's what I want to push. I don't want to give up position to my non-existent teammate who's driving the same car.
Fair. Speaking of pushing, Palmieri did manage to get past Wagner, who saw on the picture-in-picture at some point recently. Now that Merc is kind of in clear air. He's 34 seconds behind Al, as we see Dunham have a bit of an issue right on camera for everyone to see. That's okay, well, don't hit the car you can see.
Gotta like the safe rejoin there. That was more than safe, which we like here at SRA.
But he got hit for his troubles. So what are we doing here? Who was that? Was Moffitt? Shame. For shame.
Got some man person in first place going around.
What a ridiculous name. God, man person. The fight in the back. Berg and Martin are within 0.2 of each other. But again, I don't. Oh, the BMW touches the sausage curve, which is a big no-no. We don't do that. Insert T'Challa meme. We don't do that here. We don't do that either. I don't know what that Porsche is doing, pretending to be a lawnmower. The guarding care supply from Stuttgart itself. As Anderson loses, looks like 4 positions for that mistake, and Arjun's off.
It's definitely not the Dakar Porsche that they're selling to their most illustrious
And
clientele.
he's just sitting there doing donuts now. Oh, he caught the drift. And then what happened here? Proceeded to continue
tricky.
to drift.
It's a tricky braking there. That and the chicane at Nelson are tricky.
And I think he ends up doing some donuts here, mowing more lawn. Honda though does make lawnmowers, so that's not the track, bro. There goes the braking marker. There goes the other braking marker. What's going on here?
He was 3 for 4 on the braking markers. I mean, that's a substantial.
What's going on here? Make one lawnmower joke, and he decides, you know what? I must take out all the brake markers on the lawn, and it turned to, what do we say in the Discord? Skill issue. Who else is racing? Pauline is behind Stefiak for P4, but I think these top guys have all kind of just like pissed off. They're just doing their own thing. No one's really that close. They're close to each other to keep them honest, but no one's really pressing anyone else. Sikoma is still half a second behind Man-Person for P1, and Diaz is a little over that behind him. Stefiak's kind of falling off the 2.5 seconds to P3. And then, yeah, Pauly right behind him.
There's definitely some speed out there. I mean, there's got 147, 146s across most of the group until you hit kind of 23 for their last lap. So everyone's driving really nicely.
Chat pointing out that we do have a signed murderer in D2. No comment.
I think absent a lot of pit lane strategy and difference in fuel loads, we might see a pretty parade-like race here tonight.
What was this, Spa in the wet in F1 2 years ago? They did like 4 laps, parade laps, and they called it red flag.
Shut it down.
What an abomination of a race to get points for.
At least it didn't matter in the end. I think for most of the drivers, 4 points or whatever it was wasn't making a difference.
Fair. As we have a little train here at the very back of the grid. Zooch, Higgs, Kish, Dunham, all have pit, all within like a 10th or 2 of each other. I wonder where they'll come out, because ideally if you pit early, this is exactly what you don't want. You don't want to come out into a fight as Bailey gets a little bit of a send up the inside and manages to make it stick. Gets the pass done very nicely. Will he be able to defend in the next turn? He gets a little bump draft. Or gets bump drafted. The car behind bump draft, right? That's how that works?
Yeah, I'd say that they're the bump drafter. You're the bump draftee.
I think that's appropriate. For an update on Primary, he's currently in P31, doing his own thing, nary a car in sight any direction. He's 15 seconds behind the Honda Mower, who I imagine will be pitting at some point. Who else is having a good tight race? Krawczyk is coming up on Moffitt though. Only 2/10 behind. And, you know, another glorious GTR on screen.
I feel like he can get down to the low 20s without a problem. I think depending on how pits will lay themselves out, I think he has a chance, definitely. Might have underscored him being 15 to 20.
Maybe. Also, I think it just depends on how many mistakes the drivers in front make. His own pace and consistency is definitely in his control, but getting past cars might not be. That's the unfortunate part about racing at a British GT track that's built in an airfield with no space.
I feel like this track is less known by the drivers, and also has greater room for error than a lot of other tracks. At least in my driving of this track, I don't drive this track a lot, so
There's more room for error.
more room for error.
As in, you're more you are more likely to make a mistake, or you're more likely to get away with making a mistake.
You're less likely to get away with making a mistake, I think. And you're more likely to make a mistake, so I feel like if he just bides his time and drives cleanly, he has greater of a chance to pass here than, let's say, Monza, where everyone knows most of those turns like the back of their hand.
Got it. And speaking of making mistakes, as we're making those comments, Martin here in the Porsche turned a little too much and almost caught it, but we'll be going for a little bit of a drive to the green stuff.
And here's your replay of that. That's the point there. You got to slow yourself down for that part of the chicane, or else you wind up on the grass and you just lose too much. It's not worth it.
Yeah. And I wonder what's going on here in P1 and P2. Saccom's still just half a second behind Man Person. Their best times are within a tenth of each other. Diaz splits the difference between them with his best time. He's only 400ths behind Man Person in P1. But I wonder if there's some, like, you know, just drive your race, I'm not going to attack. We're kind of just hanging out. I wonder if there's some of that approach.
Yeah, I wonder if there's gonna be a pit strategy. I mean, you'll get some, presumably you'll get some speed differential against your competitors on new versus old tires. So they're all driving within 0.3 of each other. So if they can get that little bit of differential by that undercut, maybe it's going to be worth it. I don't know.
So if you're Saccom or Diaz, probably more so Diaz, do you think an undercut?
Yeah, if you're Diaz, do you consider it? I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen? You can come out back later in the field, agreed. Or do you last longer and you just push your tires longer? Is the other option. Because maybe the tire differential doesn't make a difference versus the clean air that you have in front. So Man Person and Saccom could just bang out the laps. They'll get tires late, almost like a splash and dash with fuel. They can keep up their speeds versus the rest of the pack. There's no real benefit to pitting early.
True, but I do think if you're going to pit early, if I was so inclined to hit the undercut, this is about the time you do it. You do it like 5-8 minutes right before the pit window, or like not the pit window, but the split
halfway.
time. So I think most people will be aiming for halfway because it's just, I mean, technically speaking, the most optimal.
I think, but yeah, it's either way. But you're losing more and more fuel, right? So does it make sense to pit at 40 with like 2/3 of your fuel to go, or do you push to 1/3 of the way left with 1/3 of your fuel and really push on those fresh tires? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't make good strategy decisions. That's why I am where I am. As we see, big yellow flags. Oh, big wreck. We'll get a replay of this on the big screen because it looks like something went super sideways. Chat saying they tried the BMW when it first came out. It was busted when it first came out. It was so fast. But what happened here? Oh, okay. You can't park there. Good avoidance from Anastasi.
Yeah, I had that skill yesterday. That would have saved me.
Unfortunately, I did not catch which car was the victim there, who was backwards, but I'm sure we'll find out about it later. Code Brown indeed. Absolutely a Code Brown. Diaz taking our advice, by the way, jumping in the pits.
Oh, nice to see.
I say
Let's
our advice,
spice it
he
up
can't
a
hear
little.
us, but you know. The two BMWs now, I wonder what they're thinking. When you're, I don't want to say in a fight, because they probably had half a second, maybe a little bit more, maybe a second between P1 and P3. When you see the guy behind you pit, you're like, okay, he's going for an undercut. What's your response there? Do you start pushing?
These guys are in clean air. I still feel that they can just, if they're in their head, they can just push and bang out those laps. They don't care what's going on behind them. That's what I would do. I would push it as long as I can until my tires start giving out too much to my competitor, and then I would pit. I just feel like they're in their own zone. They're 1 to 2. They probably practice this, you know, Tuesday through Friday, and they know their stuff.
Yeah, chat saying they got to cover him off, and I agree. I think if I see the car behind, if I'm in the lead at this point and I see the car behind me pit, I'm diving into the pits the next lap. Especially because, I mean, we're getting close to the window. Maybe I push it to 30 minutes and just cut right at the half mark. Unless they have some sort of, like, very specific thing they practice where they want to take the tires a very specific distance, which I'm not super sure anyone's doing at this level. But if I were them, at least one of them I would come in here. And
Yeah,
it looks
maybe
like,
if you want to play the team game.
Man person dives into the pits.
No, I like home staying out. You know, you might as well play the team game if you can do it and you have the ability to have both your team members up front. Leave one out. What's the worst that can happen? Sacombe gets passed later on. He's in 4th. Okay, but
yeah, and I do like this from the perspective of like, now man person knows when he comes out, he'll know what the gap to Diaz is. He should not lose 1.2 seconds in the pits, especially because Diaz probably came out in traffic, and new tires equals, you know, gotta get your pressures up. If you got some curbs, you're having issues. So we'll see where he comes out relative to Diaz, and he can pass that information on to his teammate, and Sacombe can make a more informed decision. So we're gonna stick the camera on him. Does he hit the wall? What's going on here? Looks like he put his foot down a little bit too much. I don't know if you can get damage from the garage, but yes, Defia's behind, and Diaz is directly behind him. About 6'10", so it looks like Diaz found half a second. But I don't know if Guy has damage from what looked like him touching the pit wall, or the garage on the inside. Traction control is your friend. Typical BMW driver things. They're really just Mustang guys with more money. Can't get damage in the pits. Lucky guy.
Oh, what a win.
I don't know if that's true. I feel like you can definitely hit the pit wall.
I've definitely hit the pit wall. I don't know if I've gotten damage.
Alright, well now assuming that Guy and Sacombe are in a voice chat together, what do you think Sacombe's strategy? Oh, Sacombe dives in the pits. He dives out from P1. Now, if you're a man person here, or if I was man person here, I'm gonna be honest, I'm anchoring into 8-9. I'm parking it on the apex, right here into 9. Taking it real slow. Just creating some space. Although I guess he also wants to make sure he gets out ahead of his teammates. Maybe not.
I mean, it depends what their game is, right? I would, I'm always happy when my teammate wins if I don't, so maybe they want to play that team game if they're not going for the driver's championship.
I don't know where Sacombe can slot in between these two guys, so this will be interesting to see. love to see a cinematic here where the other BMW just slots in the middle and nope, he gets left behind. So he got undercut pretty solidly too, because he's come out now 3.5 seconds behind Diaz, who he was 7/10 up on when Diaz dove into the pits.
That hurts.
Yeah, I wonder if he had maybe he missed his pit box, maybe something like that. I'm not super sure, but that's he has some gaining to do for sure. As Palmieri's in P18 with a bunch of the top 10 ahead of him, all still need to pit, so he's definitely making that run. And have we? And Krawczyk's back in P29. I wonder if he had an accident we didn't see.
Well, I think the key driver here is Palmieri, up with a 146.650 as the fastest lap, now up into 17.
No, that was his last lap. His fast lap was a 46.44.
Oh.
And for some reason they're both purple.
Okay. Then I'll blame race control on that one.
I get it. So there's some of the top silvers diving into the pits. Platt, Key, Anastasi. So it'll be a race for them getting out of the pits. And now the field's starting to filter out. It doesn't look like anyone's going too late. Chat correctly pointing out, Guy can play the team game a little bit and let Sacombe close in. I think he's more likely to do that once they're guaranteed P1, P2. I think right now they're trying to figure out where they're going to filter out. They'll definitely pass the cars in front of them, but I think it's more of a subconscious thing, like let me get to the lead first, then we can figure out, you know, manipulating the race a little bit more.
And Sacombe definitely lost out on that round of pit stops.
Yeah, and he even got passed by Steffiak as well at some point.
Yeah.
So, you know, you have to figure that out. But I imagine these two will probably, close the gap to the leaders a little bit. But we'll see where they end up. Platt giving himself a stop-go 30, speeding in the pit lane.
Yeah.
You can't do that here, sir.
It's always a good time. But you got to realize the people who are front, they're no more than, I think they're under 30 seconds ahead. So, van person should definitely take over first place once the pit stops.
Oh yeah, for sure. They're way ahead of the cars in front. I'm just speaking psychologically. It's different to have that little 1 out of 35 in that top right corner.
Yeah, having never known that, I'll take your word for it.
Listen, I've won one race, just one. Suzuka in the Ferrari 488.
Nice.
Great track.
I love Suzuka.
Were there some questionable things that happened? Yes.
My first podium as third came when the driver who was in third decided that he wasn't going to drive the last lap because he thought the race was over. So
nice.
I'll take that when he drives straight through on Indianapolis and I make the right hand first turn.
Oof. Hey, you got to stay ready. Opportunity knocks, you got to answer. As man person now in P2 on track with Berg in front of him, who still needs a pit. That's 17 seconds ahead of him. We see two Astons here doing the, you know, British things. Kind of in tandem, driving around that long right-hander. Who else is fighting? We still have this going on in the middle of the track. Charles, Kovac, Moffitt, Wagner a little bit ahead of them.
It says teammate exiting the pits?
Yep.
It seems like it's going to be a good battle up here in the midfield.
Yeah.
We got a Nissan up in 16. I don't know where the other Nissan is.
I presume down. Yeah, P34.
Ruining my average.
To get to your average, the Nissan in front would need to finish the race in P1.
Or P17 through P33 can drive into a wall somewhere. But yeah.
When you find that wall, let me know. Walls are on short supply here at Snetterton. Which honestly,
like
whoa, what a send.
Love it.
but
Uh,
maybe I think he felt bad. I think he backed out of it.
yeah.
That looked very much like I'm giving the position back.
The no contact, I think, is key.
Yeah.
Like,
No one
spinning
look at
someone
my
around is
my
just-
race footage from yesterday. Yeah, no contact is key.
I have no access to that.
I was a little argy-bargy, little, you know, I'm taking this space, stop me. These guys are all doing their own thing. Guy and Diaz still just kind of fighting, but like, not fighting in that much of an interesting way. They're kind of just lapping together, waiting for someone to make a mistake, but, you know, I've seen Guy driving some of the enduro stuff. Man, it's cool as ice. He's not prone to mistake making.
Yeah. Stefiak is just dropping back. He's now 4 seconds behind third place.
Anderson gets the pass on Anastasi coming out of turn 2 for P14.
Quickly got the...
And chat correctly pointing out Stefiak does have the fastest lap now, 46.155. Losing fuel, fresh tires. Fresher tires. And let's jump to the closest gap on track, which is back to this little group right here. Moffitt, Kish, Dunham, Kovac and Landshark are right by the two Porsches in front. And I think Charles is also here in the AMG somewhere. Shark, and yep, and there's the AMG. This is our tightest group on track right now. As Moffitt has a bit of an issue going to that corner, that just didn't look correct. Slowed Bailey all the way down.
Yeah, after 35 minutes of racing, that's, you know, a tough corner to keep your concentration on. Every once in a while, you lose it there and you cause a lot of motion.
Bailey getting the elbows out a little bit, saying this is no space for too wide, and I am on the inside. Pushing Dunham just a little wide onto the dirt and getting a great run out of it.
Let's see what his feelings are coming into the hairpin here, if he's close enough.
Nope. It's hard to do when you're in equal machinery. This is an interesting race. Everyone's really close to each other, but I feel like no one's really battling it.
I felt like all the passes really last night were all about people making mistakes versus people truly out driving the other person. If you hit the grass and you pass someone, I don't really think that I give myself credit for that. If I pass someone truly on track on the asphalt, then I really feel good about it. So I think that's hard here.
Yeah. Is there a harder track to pass on?
I think through the options.
Like Bathurst comes to mind, but it's not that hard to pass on Sector 1 and Sector 3. It's just the mountain's impossible.
I feel like here, Bathurst, I feel like you can take advantage of oh, there's someone goes off. 2 cars at least go off there in that last corner.
Trying to track them. Let's see what happened here. Looks like the Merc just kind of gets killed.
Oh, that's
all right.
Then just straight up leaving him behind is
push to pass in some capacity. Every English track that isn't Silverstone and Darlington, yeah, pretty much. Brands, impossible. I hate driving at Brands.
Brands has my elevation changes though. You gotta like the elevation changes.
Brands is great fun to drive. It's not fun to race.
Yeah, true.
Kyalami, I think, also struggles with this. I think Kyalami's kind of hard to pass on, even though we did see some passing last race.
I mean, it's hard with these cars, right? We like each other too much for the most part, right? If you watch your GT3 race, especially back in the day, they were driving the literally banging into each other like NASCAR. So with these cars being equally performing, especially when we're using a BOP at every track, we're only making these cars more likely to not be able to pass each other.
And you know,
So-
the resident ACC scientist Ryan in the chat saying there's no good passing track in GT3 cars. I disagree with that statement. You just have to run a meme setup in the Lexus at Paul Ricard, and then you're passing everybody. And then no
But
one
if
can
you
pass
think
you in
about
Sector
it,
3.
If you didn't have balance of performance, right? You would have cars that were better at Paul Ricard and maybe worse here, right? But
Okay.
because of balance of performance, we're literally ruining the cars that are faster at one track than another. So in reality, the best possible season would be a tracks that are beneficial for each car in an equal amount.
Yes, but the bop
Yes.
doesn't change the character. I mean, the bop makes the cars end up at similar lap times in a hot lapping scenario. Even if the Lexus is slow, I'm using the Lexus example because last night we were testing the Lexus at Paul Ricard to see how fast it could go.
Yeah.
If it's a ballistic missile in a straight line and it can do 297 or 298 Ks down the straight and it passes everybody, even if the other cars can theoretically do the same lap time, if they can't get past in Sector 3 because the Lexus is just in the way until you get to another straight, then the bop doesn't matter really.
Oh, qualifying it does.
Yeah, but qualifying it does. But if you just drive past everyone, it's fine. That's why I think a Paul Ricard GT2 cars might be competitive. This is my harebrained theory. The Mercedes GT2 might be not be the worst car on the grid if it was in a GT3 race.
All right, let's see that. Have your extra car out there.
The car exists just to bump draft other people, just to push people along.
Or drive a safe race. See what you can do.
No wings, 700 horsepower,
Don't get credit for it, but
overpressure tires.
still got to last 60 minutes.
Light work. You're not cornering that fast. You're not wearing your tires out. I wonder when Berg in P1 is going to decide to call it pit. He's kind of just doing his own thing.
I
Clear.
agree with that strategy. I don't remember where he qualified, but I'll take a look.
Let's make a change to Team Series D1 and D3 race in the same session each week, but you rotate one division into GT4. Jesus Christ. Some men just want to watch the world burn.
I used to like back in my relatively brief iRacing days of having that mixed group of cars where one group started behind the other. To really get some diversity on track, but
Oh, I see what you mean. Some talk of that a little bit. I know Le Mans Ultimate just recently came out, and a lot of people are like excited for that for multi-class racing. We have our own iRacing multi-class league, as the Porsche and the GTR are banging doors a little bit. Wagner just kind of keeping his foot in it and flashing the. I don't think he appreciated Kovac's actions there in the Porsche.
yeah.
But I also think this Porsche might get ate up on this straight, so we'll see what happens here. For those saying that mixed series racing would add so much entertainment, I encourage you to go check out our multi-class madness racing Friday nights, Big Stuff Friday nights, as well as any ACC Enduros that we're up to.
Tried to get that pass in the replay. I didn't have it for loading. Sorry, guys.
And it looks like Berg has dove into the pits. He's coming out now amongst all this group. Just behind your timetables. Looks like he's going to come out behind a whole gaggle of cars.
Yeah, it just hurts. Going from 1 to 21.
Yeah, but you have to know it's not a real one. So it's a bit of
No,
a fraudulent one.
but it was still a nice race, and you want to push, I think, in that clean air. I still go back to that. I mean, you look at Verstappen in Formula One. Yeah, he has a good car, but if he could just turn out those laps without making mistakes, you just can't get past him unless there's some bananas shenanigans happening. So.
I feel like, yeah, he has a good car, might be a bit of an understatement. They need some pop. Someone needs to go talk to Red Bull. Let's see. Update on our last first driver. Palmieri's in P7. I don't know how this happened. I don't know where it happened.
Way beyond expectations for me.
He's having a great race. The issue now being that Queso, I think, is 4.5 seconds ahead of him. 4.2, 4.3. So, will he be able to catch 4 seconds in 16 minutes? I don't know. His last lap was a 47.1, and Queso's was a 46.4. So, Queso's lapping faster, at least last lap.
Maybe he's burning out his tires versus the other drivers.
Maybe. Or it does have significantly worse rubber now.
But nonetheless, that's a fantastic drive.
Yeah, it's not done. It's behind him. Watkinson and the coach having a little bit of a battle. The coach losing out. Mere reflection of a move I made last night. The Porsche just up to ride the inside curb, keep it tight.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of contact if it happens.
Yeah, I defended through that same hairpin last night and succeeded, so I think it's doable.
Hello to the Sunset Racing League, rating with the party at 8. We appreciate you. This group, by the way, Wagner, Moffitt, Kish, Chan, Sharp, and now Berg, they've kind of all been within a half a second of each other, like the whole race. Now, is Bailey sandbagging because he doesn't want to get moved divisions after his dominant race 1 win? I don't know. Is he actually just bad and the win was fake? I don't know. Were we all collectively hallucinating? Again, I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting with the now Steffiak goes 1:45.875, which might be the best
so
lap
fast.
out there.
Oh well, the group that was racing really close, as you can see on track. Let's get a helicam view of what just happened.
Oh. Yep. That was partially my race last night. I was the aggressor.
Bendy bonk. Call that a 187. Bailey's committed a homicide. I'm sure we'll hear about that later. We'll give him some shit. But coming out of that, Moffitt and Higgs still pretty much attached to each other. It looks like the big losers there were Bailey and who else lost a bunch of positions there. Someone got hit. Again, a little bit of contact there. Race starting to fall apart.
I mean, if you look at the top four, if you take Diaz to man person, that's at like a 0.6 gap right now. But then Steffiak and Sacombe are 3.4-ish, 2.4-ish away. So Hartman in 5 is closing in on Sacombe. See if that can make any ground there, but the top order seems to be pretty well set except for that first, second place.
Yeah.
I'll go to man person wing on the picture-in-picture.
Wing so big that you launch off of it. Multi-class is fun on a longer track. I agree. I think I'm very partial to Spa. I think Spa is probably my favorite track. Spa or Bathurst. And I think mixed class racing in both of those is fantastic. Although at Bathurst it can be a little risky, especially if you get an impatient GT3 coming behind a much slower GT4, which we saw something similar in the actual Bathurst 12-hour very recently. That BMW decided trying to make a pass somewhere where you should not be trying to make a pass on the outside. It did a cutting and just wall riding like Tony Hawk.
Like that NASCAR driver from a few years ago, just drove around the wall, gained some places, won the race. I don't know.
I put it in fourth gear and punched it. He made qualifier for his next event. They just have like, you know, four cars right here. An Aston leading 3 Porsches. It literally is, you know, the Aston and their 3 little piggies. They're all just following Mother Hen around. And the teammate Aston and the GTR behind having a little bit of a battle. Looking like that GTR just made the pass. The GTR is ahead.
Switched to like a Martin wing there.
Palmieri now having to defend a little bit, Watkinson behind. And remember, Palmieri did pit on lap 1. His tires are feeling real secondhand. And he has 4 cars within 3 seconds. 5 cars within 3.5.
Queso dropped back too. Queso's at 6, 7 tenths behind the car in front of him. So either he's falling back or Hartman's putting the pedal down. Combination.
Interesting to see how can Palmieri hold on here. I think better than 7 is probably out of hand, out of sight, barring some sort of mistake from I think it's Queso in front, yeah, the Ferrari. But I wonder if he can hold out this position against the cars behind that can probably, you know, see him probably smell blood.
Yeah, but to your point throughout this entire broadcast is that it's not easy to pass around here, and even on crappy tires. If he puts his car where he can avoid people getting past him without any contact, they're not going to make it. So.
Without any contact, the great equalizer.
Diaz is sticking in there. I'm really liking this drive by Diaz to stick with man person. He's not giving up. He's stuck within less than 0.5 of a second. Pretty
and
much.
Based on the gap, it looks like he's not getting frustrated either. Like he hasn't tried to he hasn't made a move born out of frustration or anything. He's kind of just, you know, I'm right on you. If you make a mistake, I'm qualifying. Or not qualifying. Sorry, I'm taking advantage of. Keeping him very, very honest. And I wonder if he'll get more aggressive as the clock winds down, or is he much more like, you know what, let's just lock in this P2. Make sure this is as bad as my position as bad as I can finish, and just hold down the position.
Yeah, I think that's overrated. I think in leagues like ours, right? You just want to go for the win. You don't think about the long game. But I think the driver that really wants the end of the year win and that consistency, I think that's an even greater win potentially.
What I will say is Team Base and Alice is definitely not holding P1 in the team standings after this one. Jason in P11 and Bailey in P23.
Yeah, that's unlikely.
In fact, I think Manperson and Sakoma are in P2 in the team standings. So this will be a very good haul of points for them. That 599 car and the opposed 58 car. Watkinson right up Palmieri's rear end, like he's right there. But just nowhere to make the pass. Looks like he's just closing the gap and closing the gap.
Yeah, you couldn't have tires worse than what I had yesterday in the closing stint of the race, and just Porsche versus Porsche just couldn't get past me. You know, it's kind of a difficult when you're behind that other driver, but who knows? A mistake will equalize things.
And I think with worn out tires, the places you're most likely to make a mistake are like turn 1, very high speed turn, turn 3, and then turn 7. I think that turn onto the straight, if your tires are gone, it's very easy to just slip a little bit. Then you don't get as good a drive, you don't get as good an exit. Not saying that the Aston Martin does not feel good around here. I posit the Aston Martin doesn't feel good anywhere. It feels very, very floaty and very vague in the front. You could just see how much more traction the Porsche has going in around those corners. How much they close up and have to back out of it. Or just send it fully up the inside and not do it cleanly. Hometown hero. Getting a bit of a bonk.
Just, it's not.
And let's make sure the rejoin is clean. The rejoin is clean. Let's see what happened here. Nope. Yep, just a little bit of a great send up the inside and just didn't hold it tight enough.
No.
Chat immediately saying it wasn't the Porsche's fault. Primaris, quote, slapped into him trying to catch it.
I agree with that.
I don't know if he was having a traction issue before the Porsche sent up the inside, but he's definitely having issues now. We'll see what happens going forward. Oh, you can definitely see the AMG sliding a little bit now.
They got Damiani on Allen on the inset, 0.2 seconds behind. I think Damiani's been doing a good job pushing this entire race.
Yeah, and doing it fairly cleanly, just kind of, you know, knocking out laps, trying to go fast. He's right up Jason's, like, right in inside Jason's diffuser, but there's just nowhere to go into turn 2. Just Jeffries goes a little wide, but that'll turn into the inside, so I doubt Key and the Porsche can get around him. A little bit of a weave to show his nose, but not much to be done. So we have something happened. Gardner, one of the GTRs has a bit of a moment. Let's see what happened here. Into 8-9. 2 Porsches touch. GTR tries to go up the inside. Oh, touches, yep, catches dirt. Oof. And gets tagged for his troubles.
Insult to injury there.
It's not a place you pass, and when you try to set up the pass and it doesn't go well, there's only one real outcome. A little bit of excitement in the front. Man Person has pulled out double the gap, so he's now 8/10 ahead of Diaz. A full second, it looks like.
Yeah, I got Sacombe on the inset coming in on Stefiak, 0.5 seconds behind.
Key right behind Coach. But again, I don't think this Porsche really has the legs anywhere. He can't get the pass down the straight. The BMW is apparently OP. The McLaren's probably facing tire wear. That probably explains the gap between Man Person and Diaz growing, and Sacombe closing up on Stefiak in front.
Yeah, that's, you know, you want to go for the race win, that's for podium, you know, so Sacombe to Stefiak. If he wants to taste that champagne, he needs to make that pass.
Jeff is closing up on Watkinson pretty quickly, actually. I wonder if Watkinson's going slow. What's going on here? Let's see his last lap. 47.6. This is 47.5. Palmieri's now getting run up on by another Porsche. Anderson's 4/10 behind. Palmieri just has to hold it together for 2.5 more minutes.
Yeah, my inset, we've got my Hartman, Sacombe, Stefiak cam. 0.6, 0.2 behind Stefiak, so it's definitely a tight group there.
Nose to tail, nose to tail. Who else is having a close race? Landshark, Dunhamburg, these guys just kind of doing their own thing the whole time. A little bit of action, a couple off tracks, but overall these like 5-6 cars have kind of just been doing their thing. Wagner going from P22 to P16, looks like. Let's see. Yeah, Wagner from P22 to P16, Chan from P29 to P17, gained 12 positions. Palmieri from P35 to P23, he's gained 23 positions. And our pole sitter, who did not start on pole, but Krajcik, up 10 positions in P26.
I mean, Palmieri gaining 23 positions on this track is a pretty nice win, if you will, at the end of the day.
Yeah, the boy had the pace, but face the consequence of the decision making when he pit early and then tires started to go very late. Chat saying the car slid, he had tried to catch a slide and made contact with Porsche.
Pit window is now closed.
Pit window's now closed. All cars have pit. That hasn't really been a concern. Someone asking if that's a blue flag ahead of Stefiak. Considering Stefiak is 6 seconds behind Diaz, I would say every car in front of him is probably a blue flag. And yeah, I will say that McLaren is a blue flag. But I also don't know if that's going to factor in, considering there's 30 seconds left, so one more lap to defend. Ed Sacombe has Pauly right behind him, so I don't know if Sacombe's going to try anything too crazy. He's probably trying to solidify his own position.
Yeah, see if Department has anything on the last lap to throw it up the inside.
With a yellow flag. These Hondas and lawn mowing. Oh, GTR train. Nice. See what happened here. Oh, the Honda just did Honda things. Yeah, it does that. Just go redo that corner. Go have fun.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
Just get back on track, like teleport back and redo the corner. It probably would have been faster than coming back across the grass.
Gets DQ'd for going back too far, driving backwards.
For track cutting.
Diaz is down to 0.3 seconds on the last lap. I'll check in with him on the inset. .4. Looks like everyone's going to hold station.
There's just nowhere to go. The risk to reward here is not great. You might gain one position if you get the pass off, but you might lose 4 or 5 if you put yourself on the grass or in a wall. It's like this blue flag has pulled off to the side and is now braking to get completely out of the way.
Good for them. That's what I like to do that.
When they pulled over to the side and didn't start braking, I was very concerned. Yeah, it is definitely hard to stay very close behind people. You can't see anything, as they're pointing out in chat. If you have a face full of diffuser.
Yeah. Diaz is 0.3 going into the last turn. Doesn't seem like it's going to make it.
And we have your race winner, Guyman Person P1, Victor Diaz P2, Stefiak's going to come across the line for P3, Sacombe P4. Hartman P5. It looks like we're gonna get Queso in P6 uncontested, Watkinson in P7, much more contested, but I don't think the BMW has the legs here. The coach himself in P8, Triple Stint Racing, get your gloves now. Key in P9 with no one around him, Damiani in 10, Allen right behind him in 11, Palmieri coming across the line.
Ooh.
Just ahead of the Porsche, manages to hold it for a last to P12. Something like 25 positions gain, 23 positions gain, something like that. Kovac P14. Looks like Wagner's gonna come across the line. This GTR leading this train. And then a bunch of cars come across the line now quicker than I can. Hold on. Big accident last corner. What happened here? So we have Bailey with Dudley up the inside. Looks like Dudley gets the pass, question mark? Oof. Last corner, last lap. Oh no, oh no.
It seems like an unsafe rejoin.
Oh no, oh no, God no. That'd be fun to talk about. Stewards will steward, I'm sure. But yeah,
Sparkly D2 chat.
Yeah, that's it was all going so well until it wasn't. I think I'm gonna try to pull a guy up in here. Let's see.
You can see him on the inset, so we'll hear him from his helmet radio.
Yeah, let's go find him. Where's he hiding? You seen the D1 chat? So far, no. Let's see who I can find. No one's in the voice chat. Woof. Well, as they're loading in, I'm gonna grab Mr. Palmieri. Talk to Mr. Lasta first and see what he has to say about his race. Where are we? Jacob, my man.
What's up, man?
Lasta first. How'd it go? How'd you feel?
The game froze and we lost some positions, but it was all right.
Just all right. We saw a bit of contact with a Porsche.
Yeah, I mean that's not his fault, man. It was just unfortunate. That's a hard corner to avoid, but overall it was good. I'm proud of it.
Nice.
All the game crashing aside, but yeah.
It was a good race. It's fun to watch.
For sure, man.
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't think you'd get to first, but you definitely beat what I thought you would get. I think we both had you finishing in the 15 to 20 range, and
nice.
You put in that work.
I
Great
tried,
race.
man. I tried.
Yeah, congrats on that drive.
Thank you.
Yeah. Clean drive, good points, back in the positions, and how you feel about Paul Ricard next week?
I'm terrible on that track, so lots of laps incoming.
Lots of laps incoming. D2 sweat.
Lots of laps. Yep. I would say how many, but everybody might projectile vomit.
Oh jeez. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Took the week off from work. It's gonna be 12 hours a day times 7 days.
You already know, full time.
All right. Got it for you. I'm gonna put you back where I got you from. We're gonna grab our next person. Good race, man.
Thank you, man.
And let's grab Mr. Man Person. Come up to Twitch. Mr. Man Person, what's up?
How you doing, Waleed?
Good. How are you? How you feeling?
I am exhausted.
How was it racing for an hour with someone within 0.6 of you the whole time?
Well, the first half when it was my teammate, it was nice and fun. And then when Diaz pit and forced us to respond, that got a little interesting.
Okay, cool. So we were talking about that on stream. We were debating. So once Diaz very clearly undercut you guys, run me through the thought process. What were you guys? Were you guys in a chat together trying to figure things out?
Yeah,
what was going on there?
An entire lap of debating what we were doing.
Okay, and it sounds like you guys decided that you would pit first?
Yeah, it was me that lap, him the next lap, and we were hoping that he would squeeze out in front, but Diaz must have had an otherworldly out lap.
Yeah, I mean, he pit and he was, I think, 0.7 behind Jared?
Yeah, I was 1.4 ahead of him when he went into the pits, and he came out 0.4 behind me.
Woof.
So that was, and the warm-up on the BMW, those tires are really sketchy. But thankfully, I think Diaz saw that, and he was giving me a little bit of a berth to not, run into my back end.
Nice.
Was there any thought to stay out in clean air and just try to put in some laps and not worry about it, or you think you had to cover off?
I was very tempted to, but I just didn't feel like I had my top-level pace today. So I thought it was better to just get back out in front of him and just negate that move.
Yeah.
Because I've been burned once by that at Indy a couple years ago, and I wasn't going to let that happen again.
There you go. It's learning from your mistakes and addressing the situation on the fly. I like it.
Yeah, but props to Diaz. He was so much faster than me in 2 corners, and the last corner and the second corner. And as long as I kept in front of him, he couldn't really do anything but show me that scary McLaren grill.
The spaceship up the front. Well, it was a great race to watch, but simultaneously a little boring. It was super tight the whole time, but like I said, Victor didn't really try to send any crazy moves from what we saw. I don't know if you saw anything different on your end. Maybe something we missed.
Well, the last 3 laps into the final corner, he was really going hard around that hard right hand to try and set up onto the main straight. But I was braking early just to make sure I got a good exit because I knew that the M4 was going to outdrag him.
Bring the bop. Bring the bop. That's the refrain this week for the M4. Bring the bop.
I don't know. It felt pretty decent. I mean, no one else had Menning's pace. I mean, that is utterly ridiculous what he was doing with the car.
I think he's in chat. Ban him. Ban him from the league. Put him in Division 0.
No. And I feel bad. Who was it? Krochik that got pole and then disconnected or something?
Yeah, Krochik did put it in pole and unfortunately started P36 and then had some issues in the race and dropped a little bit more.
I felt so bad. He had me by what, 7,000th?
Yeah. He was fast.
Well, my pick for the win today was either him or Diaz, so I'm glad that I got ahead of Diaz because I don't think I could have made any chance at a move on him.
Track position, 1 overall.
If you stay ready, you don't need to get ready. So you stayed ahead, finished race at P1, got a whole buttload of points, and I'm pretty sure you and Sacombe will now take over P1 in the team standings, which I'm sure you guys are excited about.
Yeah, it's going to be a big fight the whole year, or the whole season rather. I think that's going to be tight right down to the last, coming across the line.
Yeah, I think currently in P1 was Jason and Bailey, neither of which had a particularly great race. Yeah, best of luck to you going forward. I'm sure we'll see you at the front a little bit more.
Thanks for commentating this, you guys.
Have fun prepping for Paul Ricard.
Oh,
can't wait to see it next week.
Great. See you guys.
All right, I'll put you back where I got you from. And there we go. All right, Dan, that's another successful race. Another one booked.
Yeah, enjoyed it.
Any closure remarks for the stream?
Yeah, I think as much as I was rooting for the silvers, the golds really took the top 10. Maybe 6 out of the top 10 or so. Most of the top places, but I think there's some silver drivers we'll see move up towards the end of the season. Then, of course, really enjoyed watching the lap after lap of our leader, Mr. Manperson, really putting in the work and getting the win, which is nice to see.
Yeah, I agree. I think, yeah, great race to watch, and there's not much more to say about it. We'll see everyone next week at Paul Ricard, which will be an easier track to pass on. So hopefully, maybe we'll get a little bit more action, but also maybe a little bit more death that comes with that. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. We'll catch you next week.
Have a nice